So, apparently, Resident Evil 4 is getting a remake. Interesting. Well, allow me to break down my feelings on it, and give you what I think should be in a remake of Resident Evil 4. I guess some background, my Resident Evil background should be kind of involved in this. Resident Evil, I've been familiar with the series since I was a little kid. My older brothers had the classic games 4, and I think they have 5 and 6. I don't know. I think they have the modern ones too. And like I said, I've been familiar with it, but the first one I ever played by myself is 2. And the first one I ever finished, because I borrowed it from my brother, was 4 on the Wii. I played the Wii port of it, and I plan on getting the Steam port of it when I get some money together. But that's beside the point. I'll leave my Cash App in the description of this video if y'all are trying to run me some money to go buy the Steam port of Resident Evil 4. Anyway, Resident Evil 4 and I feel like 2 was the pinnacle of the classic survival horror Resident Evil games. It's definitely more action-focused than 1 was, but 2, I feel like from a gameplay standpoint, was far and away the strongest of them. And Resident Evil 4 represented a big shift in the series. It shifted from being all about survival horror to more action-oriented, where you're more capable to defend yourself from the hordes of, in this game, Genados. There we go. So, seeing that they're going to remake it, and considering how important and revolutionary it was for its time, it's like, well, I mean, they're obviously going to give it a graphical facelift, like, and when I say graphical facelift, I mean, they're going to obviously change the art style so it looks more like the remakes of Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 that have come out recently. And I think they're going to hopefully they remove some of the quick time events, because, oh goodness, those quick time events, like, that's like one of the things about that game that really stayed in the industry for way too long. Like, some games did it right, like God of War, but, ooh boy, that's one thing I'm kind of glad fell out of vogue over time. But let me get back to the topic. If they're going to remake Resident Evil, here are the few things I would actually genuinely change. One of them is, this is kind of a controversial take here, the control scheme. Not because the control scheme is bad, per se, because the game still kind of technically has the tank controls from the first 3 games, but it's aged, definitely, I think is the right word. It's aged, and it was designed around it. Don't get me wrong, it still works, but definitely a smoother control scheme and aiming system for the controller. Assuming it doesn't get a switch port, would feel awesome, because having played the Wii version of it, I've been kind of spoiled by really smooth aiming. Another thing I would love to see in a Resident Evil 4 remake is a way to keep Leon's bomber jacket on. Seriously, Leon has way too much swag with that jacket on. There should be a way to keep it on by default and never lose it. But that's just me. Anyway, the final main thing I would love to see in a remake would be either additional guns, or I would say, how do I put this? A clearer way to figure out, aside from the treasure maps, a clearer way to find the treasure, like the treasures and whatnot, and a clearer way to, basically a clearer way, more of a quality of life thing in terms of having a clear way to unlock some stuff. Not everything, obviously, because if you know how the game works, you're going to probably, know what to do to unlock all the hidden stuff, all the treasures and whatnot. Oh, I did have one more thought that just came to my head as I'm recording this. Another thing, the last thing I would love to see in a Resident Evil 4 remake, aside from updated visuals, updated sound, yada yada yada, the works really, I would love to see like a DLC based around one of the beta versions of Resident Evil 4, because this game's development cycle, if you've ever looked it up, is quite the adventure. The game went through, I think, 4 or 5 major revisions to get to the version that we know of now. that we've played, that everyone's played before. And one of them eventually became Devil May Cry, but one of the other ones that I loved, like the concept of it, was like it was more of a paranormal type of Resident Evil game as opposed to based off of zombies or science or whatever. And I would love to see DLC based off one of the proofs of concept that never saw the light of day outside of, just general knowledge of it. But that's just what I'd want. What do you guys want in a Resident Evil 4 remake? And what game should they remake next? I personally think Code Veronica definitely needs a remake. But with all of that being said, I am Neroamee Alucard, the Madman. I do hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, share, and subscribe if you want more. Now I must go. My planet does need me. Peace.